Good evening. You caught me as I'm taking a sip. Welcome back to Anonymous Live. Sorry we are getting a late start tonight. There are still a couple things that need to happen here before we get rolling. We had a mod meeting tonight, and we should probably find a better night for mod meetings because they always butt right up into this stream. So I'm sorry we are starting late. It's always good to see a few people in here. I've got to step away for just a second, but I wanted to start the stream so that we at least have a running basis for getting started. And we are going nowhere. We will be here for 2 hours. This is a very laid-back stream. This is not entertainment. This is not entertaining. This is a community project where we will be listening to anonymous callers for the next 2 hours. We have a 1-800 number here on the screen. Anybody can call so long as you remain anonymous. If you dox yourself, you get toasted. That means I hang up on you. It's for your own good. We want people here to just remain completely nameless, completely locationless, so that you don't say anything you might regret a few years from now. It's for you that we do this. So here we are. I've got to get a couple of things in order before we get going, but I wanted to get this up. Give me 30 seconds. I'm going to step away for just a second. For 30 of them, actually. Got to grab a couple things upstairs, but I wanted to get this started. I'll come right back. Lines are opening, and here we go. I'll be right back. All right. Here we go. We have a Discord server. That is an extension of this project that is totally free. The link is in the video description. It's a community of people who are just... I don't know any of them personally, to be clear. I know some of them. I've gotten to know some of them personally, but I don't know. I don't know the entire community is my point. But everyone is there for the same reason. That is to create community, create space for people to just talk, to hang out. Some people are in there talking about video games. Some people are in there talking about books. We have a book club channel. There's also a anonymous confession channel for people who just need to vent something that they feel needs to be anonymous. We believe in the power of anonymity here to talk about things that might be difficult, and anonymity creates a lot of space for that. So that's what this project is about, to just create a space for people to talk about things that are difficult. We do this stream now once per week on Tuesdays. This is actually the first time we are doing this stream in about 8 months now, that we've been doing this once per week. We started out 3 times per week on Sundays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays. Then we omitted Sundays because it seemed to be, it's actually funny. I thought Sundays were going to be our biggest day because it's like a church, temple, mass day for people. And I thought that Sunday nights would be a big day for people. I thought this would actually be our biggest day for people to have a place to call in and talk like this. But it turns out that Tuesdays are our biggest day. And so we went down to just Tuesdays and Thursdays for a while, and now we are just here doing Tuesdays for 2 hours a week. We've made this change because it's important to me that we protect this project. I really believe this project is important. It's the least popular thing that I do, and it is also the highlight of my week every week. I believe it's got to be one of the most important things I've ever done. Just providing an anonymous place here to be a wall for people to talk to. I don't know anybody that calls in, and that's the beauty of this place. That's what we offer people. So we are now doing this once per week on Tuesdays. It may change in the future. We may add more days later on, but for the time being, there is so much happening that I cannot personally, individually attribute enough time to give this the focus that it needs unless it's on 1 day per week, because we were doing twice a week, and I found that I was far too often having to cut, I was doing, it's supposed to be a 2-hour stream, and I was cutting it down to I was doing 1 hour streams. I don't want to do that. I don't want to surprise you guys with a 1 hour stream when we're supposed to be here for 2 hours each time. So the best thing I know to do is to do this on a reliable day of the week where I can certainly give 2 hours, and that is Tuesday. And it also happens to be, so far, our most active day of the week for Anonymous Live. So here we are. We've just moved to a new channel. Things have been starting a bit slower here. It's okay. We are here. We have a wonderful group of mods. Our mods are the best. Super chill, but don't cross them. They're super open-minded, but do not cross the mods here. They are awesome. We love our mods. In fact, I've forgotten to applaud them a couple times on the last streams, so this is one at the beginning. We love our mods. They're amazing. Thank you, mods, for being here. All of us are volunteers, including myself. I'm volunteering time here. I do nothing but pour time and money into this project because I believe it's important. I'm here catching up on the chat now. I just said all the things I think I'm supposed to say. Making sure I haven't missed anything in the chat. Sweet sentiment from Moss. Appreciate that, Moss. A 20-minute stream. It'll be longer than 20 minutes. I'll be here for 2 hours. That's the reason I went to 1 time per week. It was very ambitious. I want to say this. It was very ambitious that I started out doing this stream for 9 hours a week, guys. And it was taking time beyond that from me as well. This stream was taking it must have been taking 15 hours per week from me or something like that when I first started this. 3 times per week for 3 hours each stream. That's how this started. How it started, how it's going. It started at 9 hours of streaming and about 15 hours of work per week, and now we're down to 2 hours per week of streaming and probably 3 to 5 hours of work is my guess, depending on the week, give or take a few hours. The point is that the reason we're doing 1 stream per week is because we can't keep doing these 1 hour streams where we get to 1 call, 2 calls. We want to be here for a solid 2 hours. That opens it up to multiple people. And that's what we're here to do, is to just create a space where people know they can reliably call in. And the most reliable day is today, Tuesday. Here we are. Lots of good thoughts in the chat. We're hanging here for a second. Lines are open. It's been slower on this new channel. It's okay. I do have a thought that's been lingering that I could share about conversation and debate, which are two things that I think are undervalued today. While we're waiting, I could share that if anybody wants. This is a personal experience I had this week that has given me a lot to think about. I've been kind of meditating on this week about debate and conversation. We've had so many conversations on this stream. I think we have over 220 conversations, I think is the estimate right now. We're trying to figure out what the exact number is because we're cutting down all these episodes. We've had hundreds of conversations with people. And I see Mr. Miyagi thinks I'm not a basketball player. I'm certainly not a basketball player, but I was very good at basketball some years ago. I might still have it. I don't know. I haven't tested this, but I was once very good. But I'm getting off track. We were a thought that I had, and anybody can feel free to call in at any point. But I've been thinking about this and trying to decide if I should even go off on this tangent here. If anybody calls in, it's okay. It can interrupt the thought. But I've done a few streams here now since thinking about this, and have finally decided that tonight, if there's a lull, it would be a good time to talk about this. It's just a thought. I don't mean to preach, but the thought I had was that a few nights ago, it was about a week ago now. It was more than a few nights. It was about a week ago. I got into a debate with a friend, a dear friend, and it escalated. Let me set up. I'll set this up a little bit. I think debate is pretty much all we have. That's why I'm spending some time talking about this. And if somebody calls in, it can totally derail it. It's okay. But debate and conversation is how we learn. And these things are tricky today because a lot of people disagree on a lot of things. That's why we do this. Anonymous Live. That's why we do this, is to create a space for people to feel safe to talk about how they feel about things. And we will all learn things from conversations, whether that's a conversation with a teacher or a parent or a sibling or a friend or a confidant, a therapist. We're going to learn things from people through talking. And I believe that one of the things that's really important about the free world is that we value debate. We value strangers talking about things, and even friends talking about things, in order to arrive at some kind of consensus or some kind of vote. That's really important, because if we don't agree on things, if we can't agree on things, then what good is a vote? Why vote on anything if no one can agree on anything? So the point is that we learn things from each other. That's all we can do. That's the value of conversation, is learning, education. And I was in a conversation with a friend last week, a dear friend that I've known for a long time. I'll leave them nameless. And it got heated. It was a dumb conversation. This was a conversation about corn. We got into a debate about corn. And before I knew it, it got very heated, as silly as it may sound. And I walked away from that conversation realizing that there are things in life that are not worth arguing about. And many of us may find ourselves in situations where we're having what seems like a very casual conversation about something that turns into something that's very difficult for the other person. And I think that that's normal. I think that's normal. Because we don't know what's important to others until they tell us. But these kinds of things can't stand in the way of a debate or a conversation, even if it's something as silly as corn that you're talking about. Because I'm laughing because I'm just sitting here talking about an argument I had with a friend about corn. Everything ended up being okay. This is a brother of mine. But the point is that, like, we need to be sensitive towards people about their reactions to things. People's reactions are very important. And that's part of the reason we don't get ideological here on Anonymous Live. If you call in here, I'm not going to argue with you. I'm not going to get into a debate with you about politics or something like that, because I don't know you, and because I don't know you, and I don't know what value you see in the world. And that is kind of what is at the crux of what I'm talking about with my friend, who I've known for 2 decades, that I got into an argument with last week about corn. Before I even realized it, we were arguing about corn. And my point is that I think that a lot of people today can't arrive at any truth because they get their feelings hurt, because the other side doesn't understand what they're saying, because the other side doesn't appreciate what they're saying. Maybe they can't. And so with your closest friends, I think, and even with your most distant acquaintances, if you find yourself in a debate, if you find yourself in a exchange where something will be won, something will be lost, maybe ask yourself what it is that's up to be won and what's up to be lost. I found myself in a conversation with a brother that I had known for over 2 decades about corn, and it could have ended horribly. It honestly could have ended horribly over corn. Over what? Over corn. And the only reason it didn't end horribly is because we both acknowledged that there was something we didn't understand about the other person's perspective. And I think that's important. I think that's really crucially important for today. Acknowledging that you might not have the full picture of what's at stake for the other person. I think that's something a lot of people don't get today. So I took a few minutes there to talk about corn and a conversation I had last week that ended up being valuable for me and a beautiful experience for a dear friend of mine and me. And I hope that's valuable to any of you. That's what's important to me about this project with Anonymous Live is creating a space where it's like, look, when I get into a call with a caller, I don't know who's calling. I don't know what they're going to talk about. And I extend that trust, grace, whatever you'd call it. There's got to be better words than these. But it can be difficult to do it with a friend or someone you know really well. And it can be even more so difficult to do it with someone you might perceive to be an adversary, to someone who you think might disagree with you automatically. On Twitter, some stranger who's just typing stuff. And we don't extend that same courtesy to people like that for some reason. At least it's challenging for me. It has been challenging. So that's the thought I would leave you with. We have a call coming in. I'm going to take it. Here we go. Hello, thanks for calling.
Hi, I'm excited. This is the first time I've called in, but I'm surprised that I actually got a reply. But
Can we start with your age and a brief intro?
I'm 21, and right now I'm just kind of struggling with finding purpose. I'm in community college, just taking 2 classes right now, and one of them I've pretty much already failed, and the other one is not going so great.
So you... Go ahead, sorry.
There's more, but I was working towards the beginning of these classes, but I was fired just because I wasn't working quick enough. I wasn't making my quotas. It was in food service.
Before we go any further, you know the rules here, right? Like completely anonymous, no names, no locations, right? You know that?
Yeah, I won't.
Okay, great. It's for you. I just want to make sure.
The food service job, I was really enjoying it. It was nice. I got free lunch in the middle of my shift. But, yeah, I just had to at the beginning, I was making the lunches for different workers, and that wasn't going well. Then I moved on to making one of the products that they sold. And I wanted to call in last week, but I was an emotional wreck. I didn't want to embarrass myself too much.
Right.
Yeah. But right now, I'm just trying to find purpose.
Well, it sounds like you're under a lot. It sounds like you're meeting a lot of opposition. It sounds like things aren't going great.
Yeah. I mean, they could be worse. Right now, it's just kind of boring.
Right.
I was doing trade school earlier in the year, which didn't work out. And towards the end of that, I was thinking of sort of, I don't want to say anything that'll get me toasted, but I had some violent thoughts just about how nothing was going well. And it's a little better now, but with that trade school, I had a whole thing planned where I was going to try to get a job afterwards. I knew exactly who I was going to contact. And it just doesn't seem like anything's going right. I really appreciate these live streams, though. And it helps a lot knowing where other people are going through similar things.
Are you struggling with purpose because you think you know your purpose and it's not going the way you expected?
I guess that's one way to put it. Whenever I find something that I want to do, it just doesn't work out. I'm considering just kind of giving up on some classes right now, and maybe, as much as I hate this, just based on how it's gone in the past, I'm considering getting a holiday retail job. I've done it before, and it's not that bad. It's just exhausting.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry.
Exhausting, why?
People are terrible. I heavily believe that everyone should experience working retail during the holidays, just so they know how terrible it can be, and they'll treat retail employees better.
That's right. Yeah, that's interesting to hear you put it that way. I didn't ask because I'm putting you on the spot. I asked to get to what you got to, which is that it's difficult. It doesn't surprise me that it's difficult because you got customers who are on holiday,
mm-hmm.
and they are maybe feeling a little gung-ho on what they're going to do in that store on their holiday, and then you have the worker who is definitively not on holiday. You might be making some overtime or some kind of holiday compensation, but you're not on holiday the same day that everybody else is, and you're busting ass trying to satisfy the people who are on holiday.
Yeah. I was at a grocery store, and the main reason I haven't signed up at this point is because I would probably be doing the exact same thing I did earlier, which most of it was fine, but the goddamn grocery carts, they were so terrible. Just an asshole to work with. People would always leave them in the wrong parking lots.
Right.
I once found one zip-tied to a car, but this car was parked in 4 spots at the same time. That made me laugh.
So, there were too many problems associated with this job to be there were more problems than you could solve. There were more entitled holiday patrons than you could satisfy.
Yeah. Anyone listening, please be nice to grocery store workers. They have access to all of your food before you do.
That's right. That's right. That's right. So you're getting some sentiments in the chat. I might zero in on some of them. Go ahead, though.
That makes me happy.
What's that?
I have the stream up on my computer on mute.
Oh, I see. So, is it that you are I want to get right to the chase as to not waste your time and to hopefully get into a good conversation? I want to make this a good call for you. You've called in for a reason. If I'm going too fast or going direct too quickly, please tell me because I can slow down. But just I hope you understand. Like I get there's a lot of calls that come in here about meaninglessness, purposelessness, frustration with this kind of stuff, And that is one of the biggest reasons that I started this project, because I realized that this is a thing that people feel, and I believe it's real. So I hope you don't mind me cutting right to the chase when I say that I think that when I hear people describe what you're describing, it sounds a lot like people being frustrated with problems in life, problems that they can't overcome. Like when you say, I'm working a holiday and people are nasty and all that stuff, like I can't help but distill that into a statement of like, hey, there's too many problems here. There's a lot of resistance. There's a lot of a lot going unacknowledged. There's a lot of resistance. And where I go when I hear that is to entropy, because that's what we're under in life. We're under a force called entropy that is constantly trying to pull everything apart. Entropy is the reason that
I haven't heard in a long time.
Yeah, but it's a powerful term, entropy, because it's probably the reason gravity exists and things want to fall and shatter, and it's definitely the reason that it's at least the best explanation we have for the reason that the universe is being pulled apart and that energy dissipates and that things need to be maintained or they will suffer. And that's what we're under in life. And I think a lot of people get caught up in entropy, the entropy of life, and mistake the beauty for life, the beauty of life. They don't mistake it, but they neglect it. They neglect the beauty of life in exchange for nihilism. I think a lot of people get caught up in nihilism because of problems in life, when really the beauty of life is what else can you say besides the beauty of life? I mean, everywhere else in the universe there's death, and we have been given this surprise, this party here on Earth where we can exist and solve problems. That's what life is. Life is constantly solving problems. That's what evolution is. That's what work is. When we work, we are paid to solve problems. Life is full of problems, and I think a lot of people get caught up in nihilism because of all the problems that come along with life. Of course, life is going to be full of problems because we're surrounded by entropy.
Yeah.
But what's beautiful is that we have life, that we're not nothing, that we're here, and it's a struggle. And yet, what kinds of problems can we stand to represent with our own lives?
Yeah. I just want to point this out. I'm reading the comments. Moss, thank you so much. Always just put them in the little thing at least. I'm
yeah. Let's focus on the conversation here. The chat will be there for you later, but I want to have an authentic conversation with you here. I might highlight a couple things, but let's have a conversation here.
Yeah.
The chat is here for you as a resource, of course, but I want to make sure that we're having a real conversation.
Yeah.
So what do you make of that life is going to be full of problems, and yet that's part of the beauty of life?
That's kind of nice. It makes it less boring.
Right. Yeah, without problems, what would life be?
Yeah.
We wouldn't have a word for problems. We wouldn't have a word for bad. We wouldn't have any frame of reference for what positive there would be. It would be boring. Exactly.
Yeah.
I think that's right.
Mm-hmm.
So, what problems make you feel invigorated? What problems actually refuel your person? What problems excite you? What problems actually, when you overcome what kinds of problems, when you overcome them, actually make you feel motivated to continue?
Usually it's, I'm a people person. I don't do well in solidarity, so usually it's solving problems to help other people.
Mm-hmm. What kinds of problems? Any problem, or just making anyone's life better helps you feel like you have meaning? Is there like a specific kind of problem you gravitate towards that fills you up when you solve it? Or is it just like simply being there for people?
Honestly, lately that's how it's been. I don't think I'm getting too specific, but one of my good friends is going through some relationship problems. I'm constantly texting, calling them just to help with that kind of, with those struggles that honestly I've never gone through. I haven't had good relationship luck in the past. But I think for for the next couple, probably the next year or so, I'm gonna, going back to work and school, I might try to just get my old retail job back, preferably with more than $11 an hour, because that's what I had last time I did it. And I don't know, I'm a little too late to work on school this semester, so I'll hopefully do better next time. It's nice that it's different than like high school or the trade school that I did earlier, where I get basically unlimited attempts. It just costs a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
I'm considering if it doesn't work out in the next, I don't know, year or so, maybe 2 years, I'm thinking of moving away with one of my friends. She's politically paranoid, and I just want to get to something that's different. But we've been thinking of possibly doing that in the next couple of years. It'll be nice to see something different. I know it'll be difficult, but it'll be different. I don't know where to go from here.
Yeah, are you, are there struggles in your relationship due to politics?
Not really. Not really.
Okay.
I have family that has different political opinions, but I hope this isn't giving you away too much.
Just no names, no locations. That's all.
Yeah, I was the family member who was terminally ill back in like 2003. So
mm-hmm.
I feel like everyone in my family looks at me like, oh, I can't hate them because I make that makes me look like a terrible person.
Mm-hmm. I get that.
Yep.
So it's really just, it sounds like you're struggling with some nihilism.
Yeah. Trying to find purpose. Trying to make realistic goals.
It sounds like you need a good problem to conquer.
Yeah. I know it's expensive, but I am so close to wasting money on building a second computer.
I know the feeling.
I might just get a couple Lego sets. It's cheaper.
Legos are cheaper than computers, for sure.
My brother got me into those again over the last couple months.
So you're a technical type. Maybe you're an engineer. Maybe you have an engineer's brain.
I think so. I'm not smart enough to get into a lot of engineering schools. I know this. And that's okay. I live 20 minutes from a really good engineering school that I don't think I'll ever apply to because I couldn't make it in. But it's fun to imagine these things.
So you're talking about a few things here. You're talking about finding purpose. You're talking about dealing with failure. You're talking about nihilism. And you're talking about at least some kind of inferiority. I'm not going to call it an inferiority complex because I can't diagnose you, but that's what it sounds like. And those four things go hand in hand at the very least. You're talking about, you're trying to find your way in life. And how do you do that when things don't work out? And how do you find your way when things don't work out, when you struggle with a sense of meaninglessness, like nothing matters because look, nothing's worked out. And then on top of that, it just breeds all this inferiority. I'm not good enough to be an engineer. You're building computers. I highly doubt that you couldn't be an engineer. If you could build a computer, that's what an engineer is, so what is that?
Impressive, but I don't find it nearly as impressive as a lot of people do.
Yeah, well, building a computer takes an engineer's brain. I don't know what kind of maybe computer engineering specifically. If you can build a computer, that I've built computers. I know what that takes. I'm also not an engineer, so I hear what you're saying. I hear I know what it takes to build a computer, and it's not easy. There's so many ways you can screw it up. There's so many ways to screw it up. You can build it on carpet for starters. That's an easy mistake a lot of people make. You fry everything.
Right now, the case is on top of a shelf that I have to take down. It looks so janky. The shelf is just it still has the bark of the wood, the log that it was cut out of. It's one of those super rusty whatevers.
So here's my compliment to you. Here my compliment to you. You have engineered computers. You are doing it. You know what it takes. Even if it looks janky, you know what it takes to build a computer successfully. What is a computer? A computer is something that computes. A computer is a glorified calculator. What is a calculator? A calculator solves math. That's, and what is math? Math was invented to keep track of property ownership and taxes and things like that. So in other words, if you're good at building computers, you are good at solving problems, math problems. You can solve problems. And what kinds of problems fill you up? You seem to be very technical, and there is something that you have to contribute. And what is it? I don't know. I don't know you, but I'm here. I'm repeating back to you what I'm hearing you say, and there is value in what you're saying. And I'm not going to let you discredit your own value, because there is value here.
Thank you.
It's difficult doing what you're talking about.
Yeah. One of my ideas for, I guess, the next semester of school is, I know there's not as much of an area for this, but just to make it easier for a little bit, I'm going to try to find some just community college classes that are more hardware based. The stuff I'm doing now is mostly software, and yeah, it's just not working out as well as I hoped. But hardware I'm much better at. I'm much better thinking with practical elements, and it'll be nice to do something a little different, but still in the same-ish vicinity.
Mm-hmm. Highfish from the chat, I'm probably mispronouncing it, says to you a beautiful sentiment. They're saying they can relate with you, that they started programming at 13 years old. They said they're often introduced to new people by others as a genius, and they hate it because they doubt themselves. I think that's something a lot of people can understand. And that's beautiful, because, you know, that's what I'm saying to you as someone who doesn't know you, as someone who is not you. All I know is what you tell me here, of course, but like, that's the same with any relationship. It's also true for your own friends. Like, your friends only know what they've seen of you. And so it makes sense that some people might be inclined, like, I'm harping on what Highfish says here, that like, they say they hate being introduced as a genius because they doubt themselves. They go on to say they would feel more, I'm mincing their words, but they say they would feel more confident with certain certifications. Like, they would feel more confident if they had a certification in something. Yeah. But what is a certification? Like, a certification is just someone else saying they know what they're talking about. And what is it when someone says you're a genius or you're good at something? It's a certification. It might not be official, whatever that means. It might not be accredited, whatever that means, but it's some kind of social credit. It's some kind, like, somebody sees a value in what you do and they're blown away by it. And I know this isn't your struggle. You're not struggling with people introducing you as a genius. At least it doesn't sound like, but my point is, like, I'm hoping that what you hear me say is that I hear the value in what you're talking about. I hear that you have something to offer because of the words you're saying. You clearly know a lot about what you're talking about. And there's value in that. A lot more value than nihilism can offer. A lot more value than succumbing to meaninglessness can offer. The only thing the best we can, it's not the only thing. I almost said the only thing. The best thing we can do in life, I think, is take the only thing we can do and try to do the best we can with it. That's the best we can do. It's not the only thing we can do, because we can take the thing we're best at and run it into the ground or neglect it or abuse it. It's not the only thing we can do, but the best we can do is to take the things we understand and believe in and value and do our best to overcome the problems that come along with that. Yeah. Because, like, how else do we find meaning? There are ways to find them. Like, people have kids and find meaning in it. People get married and find meaning in it. And these are all things that are different for everyone. Not everybody finds meaning in these things, but I like to come back to work as a baseline for nihilism, as a baseline solution for nihilism, because it's a broad spectrum kind of response that is like everyone can find meaning in. solving a problem. Everyone can find meaning in that. And I don't know what you're after in life. I don't know if a kid would give you a sense of purpose in life. I don't know if getting married would give you a sense of purpose in life. But I do believe...
But it would also terrify me.
Fair enough. Fair enough. It's terrifying. These things are terrifying. I also... there's a great quote. The actor, I won't be able to remember, but they said something like, don't do the thing that doesn't terrify you. If you do the thing that terrifies you, you know you're doing the right thing. I'm also not telling you to have kids. I don't know what you want in life. I'm not telling you to do anything.
I want kids eventually, but I want to wait.
Yeah, that's good. I'm not pushing you to have kids. Use protection, please.
Oh, I'm the second of three. I've already decided I'm stopping absolutely at no more than two, because
okay,
I don't want a middle child.
Yeah, right. So again, we're back to what problems do you believe are important? What problems oppose the nihilism you feel? If there was one problem in life that you felt opposed the nihilism you feel, what would it be? And how can you help solve it?
I'll have to find out what that problem is.
Yeah, you don't owe me an answer, but that's my question.
I know I'm not in too much of a hurry, but it'll have to get done eventually.
Yeah. That you don't owe anybody an answer, but that's my question back to you. It's like, it's a rhetorical question. What's the one thing that you feel is so important in life that opposes the nihilism that you feel, and how can you apply yourself to that?
At this point, my biggest life goal is don't be remembered as a monster. I'm hoping I get more in the future, but I think that's a good place to start.
My friend, I don't think you're a monster.
I know. That's just a basic, don't mess up too much.
What makes you think you're a monster?
Oh, I don't. My whole thing is don't mess up to the point where someone will look back at you and just say, "Oh, I'm glad that they're gone." I don't know. I'm just kind of talking about whatever.
That is, yeah, that's interesting. That's something I noticed. I've noticed a lot of people zero in on that kind of sentiment while they're dealing with nihilism, which is really odd, right? Like, we would expect, I think a lot of people at least would expect that someone who's wrestling nihilism is probably like some badass, like, like doesn't care about anything. They're just like, let everything burn. Nothing means anything. I don't care. Really, I think what nihilism is like, it's a struggle with the value of life. It's like, what nihilism, I think, is like, what I've heard, at least what I've heard a lot of people say here that I've resonated with, is like, what is the value of life? It's not like this domineering force of like meaninglessness or, pointlessness. Like, it's not like a bunch of people out there being like Adolf Hitler or something. It's like, no, like people dealing with nihilism have like a deep sense of responsibility, and they don't know how to live up to that. That's my sense. It's like, it's an odd thing from the way I've heard people describe it here. It's like, how do we take that? Like, it's beautiful, actually. Like, you just said you don't want to be remembered as like a person that like had no point or was just like a regrettable individual. You want your life to mean something. And And that's it may be too easy. Maybe it's too simple. But my question back to you, as simply as I can put it, is like, what is that? What is that thing that you can do that will justify you as a person? And that's a big question that you don't owe an answer for. It's something you might spend your next couple decades thinking about. But that's the question we all ask in life.
Mm-hmm. I think for now, my answer to that is just be respectful to everyone.
Yeah.
I know that's typical, but it helps.
Yeah.
I don't know where to go now.
You're getting love in the chat. It sounds like you've been following some of it, but it would be maybe good for you to get some food for thought in the chat later when the chat replay is up.
To look through it probably tomorrow.
Hunter Gang Girl from the chat says that they can tell you want to be a positive force in the world. Mm-hmm. And that is the double edge of nihilism, I think. I think a lot of people fall into nihilism there because they don't see how to be a positive force in the world. They don't know what they can do to possibly make a positive impact in the world. And I think that's where a lot of people get lost in nihilism, because like it's not like what's the point of anything? It's like, what is the point of trying anything? Because can I even make an impact? Does any of it matter? And we don't know the answers to those questions. The best we can do is the best we can do every day.
For now, I'll just try to be positive to whoever I can, and hope. I know I won't get that back from everyone, but I feel like 60% is a good goal.
Yeah, that's a great goal, 60%.
Yeah.
Elon Musk, I think, is hoping to retain 30% of Twitter. I thought that was hilarious.
I took out all of my stocks in every single thing that he is a part of.
Sorry, guys. Sorry, guys. I can't help making jokes about Elon Musk and Jordan Peterson, as you know, at this point. God.
It's always funny.
Yeah. My friend, I want to encourage you to keep on keeping on. You're young. You're 21. This is the time of life where this stuff is supposed to be difficult. In fact, like, I just invoked the name of Jordan Peterson. This, like, the thing you're going through is, I believe, the reason Jordan Peterson is so popular, because there's a lot of people your age struggling with this. And I would say, don't shoot me down for saying this. I have a lot of, I'll start it with this. I'll hedge it with this. I have a lot of problems with a lot of things Jordan Peterson says. However, Jordan Peterson he's been so prolific with this generation and this time, I believe, because a lot of people your age are struggling with this exact thing, this exact sense of, like, what's the point? And Jordan Peterson has given some solid advice. I will attempt to repeat 2 things I've heard him say that are good, amongst the hundreds of things I disagree with. The first thing he says...
Typewriter situation.
That's right. What I like that he said is, if your life is a mess, clean your room. That's what I like that he said. That's a great quote. If your life is a mess, clean your room. And nobody likes to hear you say, clean your room. Even when you're a kid, you don't like to hear your parents say it, but it's true. Like, you clean your room up, you get things in order, and he's kind of saying, like, look, you got to take ownership of where you are in life. No matter if it was handed to you or if you earned it, it doesn't matter. It's where you are. The only way out is to take ownership of it and work your way out. I think he's right about that. Nobody's wrong about everything. Nobody's wrong about it. I don't love everything he says, but no one's wrong about everything. And I think he's... Go ahead, sorry.
Like complimenting an Adolf painting.
It's not that bad. Come on, it's not that bad. who has yeah, we can't go there. I'm not gonna go there. But it's not that bad. He hasn't physically hurt anybody. I'll put it that. I will go there. I will say that he hasn't physically hurt anybody. He might say some things. He does say some things that I think are tone deaf, and a lot of, I'm not trying to get political by invoking the name of Jordan Peterson, but no one's wrong about everything, and I think he's right about that. He's just saying, when he says clean your room, he's saying, like, look, some of us are handed things in life, and yeah, it might be not our baggage. Maybe it's our parents' baggage, maybe it's our co-workers' baggage, maybe it's our siblings or friends' baggage, and like sometimes we have to deal with things. That's part of the reason I do this project, because I believe that like the baggage of people is not that heavy. Like, yeah, people go through heavy things, but people just need a place to just be honest. And I think that's an honest thing to say, that if you're handed something in life, sometimes you have to deal with it. And I think that's what old JP means when he says clean your room. Yeah, I hope I didn't inflame anything by invoking that name. I realize what I've done. I fully realize what I've done. I'm sorry, everyone. I'm sorry, internet. Truly sorry.
I have to introduce these streams to the guy who showed me your original sketches. I haven't talked to him in like 3 years, but maybe it'll work.
Okay.
That was just an unrelated tangent. But
there's a lot of good stuff for you in the chat. I haven't gotten to half of it, at least. Whenever I get a call like this, people dealing with meaninglessness, it gets like all of my brain cells, because I believe this is a very important problem. People like you are one of the biggest reasons this project exists, because people need to believe that their life can mean something, and it can mean something, but you got to find some kind of problem to devote your energy to, and it has to be a problem you believe in that's important. That's why, whenever a friend of mine is starting a business, the thing I tell them is, like, number one, most important thing is make a mission statement. And that mission statement needs to be very clearly stated and simple. It needs to be very as short as possible, no more than 3 sentences, that says why you're doing what you're doing. What is the problem? Why the problem is important, and what you're going to do and by when to overcome the problem. That's what a mission statement is. And I think a lot of people need a mission statement for their life. And maybe that's what you need. I don't know. Maybe that could help you. Maybe that could help you to write 3 sentences on the most important problem, and why the problem is important, and what you're going to do and by when you're going to overcome it.
Yeah. That'll be nice. I'll have to write that down and figure something out. Actually, I'll do that right now. Just write a little note.
That's a great recipe against nihilism, to have something you devote your energy to, and knowing why it's important to you. Because if you have it in writing, if you wrote it to yourself, why it's important, why it matters, why you're going to devote energy to it, then there's no talking yourself out of it. You know it's true. I can't write it for you. I don't know what's important to you. But you can.
Yeah. I'll figure something out eventually.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of my dad. He didn't find what he's doing right now until he was like 45. No, not that old, maybe 40. But yeah, it took a while for him. It might take that long for me. Hopefully, for my selfish sake, it doesn't take that long. But yeah.
You can call again here anytime. I would love to hear some kind of update or, more conversation, whatever's helpful. We want this place to be constructive to everyone who calls in, so you can call again anytime. If I may, I'd love to end the call on a beautiful Viktor Frankl quote from Easy Cheesy. In the chat, Easy Cheesy says, we needed to stop asking about the meaning of life and instead to think of ourselves as those who were being questioned by life daily and hourly. It's a beautiful Viktor Frankl quote.
Yeah. After this call, I'm going to go downstairs and fill a big glass of water.
Good.
I don't talk this much out loud really ever.
Sometimes that's all we need, to just think out loud. Thinking out loud is powerful. In fact, maybe this is the best place to end the call. I think that's like at least 80% of what Jordan Peterson is known for. Just thinking out loud. I think that's what he's famous for. He just thinks out loud, and people are like, oh, it's interesting the way you think. And that's like basically it. Like, he's brilliant. I think he's brilliant, but he's also like, he gets so much stuff wrong. Like, the only answer is got to be that he's just thinking out loud. Like, he's way too smart to get so much wrong. Like, what else is there? Anyways, I hope I didn't push you away by invoking the names Elon Musk and Jordan Peterson, but I hope you saw why it was relevant.
Oh, I mean, you're
Call again anytime. Hoping for a good update. Wishing you the best.
Thank you. I know it's been a while, but, well, it's been a long call. I don't think they usually last this long. It's 48 minutes. That's impressive.
Not always, but sometimes.
Yeah.
I appreciate the conversation. I'm wishing you the best, and I think you're going to do good things, and I'm wishing you the best. Give us a good update sometime.
Yeah, I will. If it's not in the call, I'll put something in the Discord.
Sounds great. Good night to you.
Good night.
All right, chat. Lines are opening again. Hello, thanks for calling.
Hey, this is Julian?
Yeah, can we start with your age and a brief intro?
Sure. I'm 27 years old, and have a family issue.
Okay. What's going on?
So, I'm relatively close to my sister, but I don't live with her. Right now I'm live away from a lot of my, or all of my family. But I was just playing games with my sister online, and she just confided in me that my mom essentially had asked my sister to do something illegal, and I got pretty, like, almost like pressuring her, and I later decided to report it, like a crime that my mom did, and then, so that was like recently, and then
what did your mom ask your sister to do? I hope I'm not asking too much. I give you anonymity. I don't want to know your name or where you are, but what if you're comfortable. What did your mom ask your sister to do?
Yeah, I guess I'm hesitant to say, but I suppose I'll share it. I'll just keep it pretty general, but it had to do with like voter fraud, like submitting. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I'll just leave it at that. It had to do with voter fraud.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't want to pry anything out of you, but that helps us focus this on something.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I guess most people wouldn't see that as, or at least maybe some people wouldn't see that as a big deal, but I saw that as a big deal and decided to report it. And so then I got a call like a couple days later from like law enforcement, essentially like asking me about it. And then right off, I wasn't really sure what was going to happen with it, but right off I got off the phone, I called my sister and told her what happened. And obviously she was very upset. And yeah, and it seems like my mom is very upset as well, which is understandable given the difficult circumstances. But I kind of like figured that this would happen, but it's still a difficult situation, feeling like I might have ruined a really good thing with having a strong relationship and caring and supportive family that might be falling apart now due to me reporting them. But
yeah,
I told my
that's
mom,
tough.
I told my mom like, hey, I want to have a calm conversation with you just so I can explain why I did what I did. But she hasn't really responded back. But I'm hoping to talk to her sometime this week, maybe after some frustration or some anger has resided. I'm hoping in a couple days, But
from what I understand about voter fraud, some people are bribed into or offered a lot of compensation for delivering votes. I'm also trying to be very careful in speaking in general terms here because voter fraud is a difficult topic, but I believe you that voter fraud it clearly exists. It's existed for decades. Nobody denies that it exists in some capacity and that certain people do it. But the point is that those who are caught doing it are usually promised certain compensation for doing it. Is there reason to believe that is like my question is it like financial? Do you have a sense of like is your family engaging in this because it's financially lucrative, or is it like a political ideology that's motivating them, or like what's the deal? Do you know?
There's no financial involvement. It's completely political. Yeah, I mean, I guess I can just share what, like, essentially, like, my mom is very politically active and asked my sister if she could submit, like, an absentee ballot, like, in her name. And then eventually my sister said yes after being pressured a couple times because my mom is very politically active and, like, wants, like, her preferred candidates to be elected. So,
I see.
And I know there's tensions with that because my mom and I, we've had some heated political debates recently. More so me trying to talk and her screaming at me, like screaming over me, but it wasn't really much of a conversation. But it does relate a little bit to what you were saying before. Callers were calling about the importance of conversation. I really liked what you said, but I think your little speech there, I think, relates to this topic a bit. But
what I gave my speech about corn earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, it's like how do we listen to people And yeah, I hear that in what you're saying. Like, your mom seems very passionate about what she believes politically, and might be very frustrated that you don't agree with her, or don't see, or don't, or that you're not okay with her committing voter fraud.
Yeah. And yeah, we texted a little bit, but she pretty much just said that like we're also a religious family, and she said like, you know, it says in the Bible that you don't take Christians to court and whatnot. Which, so I think that's going to be a difficult conversation when it does happen. I'm assuming she's open to still talking to me. I'm just under that assumption, but
right.
I think she's going to accuse me of doing this over like political disagreements we had, but I've evaluated myself, and I think I can honestly say that like it doesn't matter who. Like, if someone told me that this was happening, I would report it regardless of who it was and of what I knew about them, you know, because I do care about this a lot. As far as like our democracy and our Constitution. And I guess my sister, like, she was just completely stunned. I suppose most people would find it shocking what I did, that like be willing to sacrifice so much just to report your own family member out of a sense of like duty, I guess, to the rule of law. But
right.
I was also a little concerned about like, well, what if it's not just what if it's not just my sister? What if she's doing this with other people? You know, like how much is this going to continue if it doesn't stop now? You know.
Right.
So,
the J Fluffy from the chat says to you, they believe that you made the right choice by reporting the crime overall. And I think that's right. Like, if I were to commit a crime right here, right now on this stream, I would hope somebody would report it so that it could be made right, even if people cared about me, because a crime is it's criminal. Like, we can't trust people when they commit crimes, and trust is all we have in civilization. If we can't trust people, then we can't trade with them. That's why trust is so important. That's why it's written on our money, because first of all, we trust our money is worth something, and we trust other people. A lot of the times, strangers, we trust that they're making a good trade. And so I'm with the J Fluffy that like crime should be reported, and people should answer to things. People should show up in court and at the very least defend their case. If there is a case to defend it. Give people a chance to say what they saw happen. Yeah. And that's what's beautiful about civilization, that we can do these things. Now, not every civilization has a justice department. You know, some justice departments aren't just, you know, like some of them can be skewed, and some juries can be skewed. You know, it's not easy. But the point is, like, at least myself and the J Fluffy in the chat think that you did the right thing by reporting it, even though it was a family member. That must have been really difficult.
Yeah, it was, but ultimately I felt like it was the best decision and like the most consistent with my values. And I was just thinking, like, if this was anyone else, I wouldn't hesitate at reporting it. So like, really the only reasons why I wouldn't would be like it being a family member, and to like some potential blowback to myself, but
right,
which I don't think both of those reasons are good enough or enough of a reasons not to. But yeah, I guess that's a good angle. And I think that's what I'm going to try to bring about with when I talk to my mom is like, look, like if I did a serious crime, like I would want you to report me as well, you know, and I would expect that of you. But I'm not really sure how else I can go about this, and I have a feeling she's gonna like be very angry at me and maybe accuse me of doing this solely out of political divisiveness, but I don't really know.
Well, maybe that can be a conversation.
Yeah.
Maybe that could be a conversation where you, as the younger one, the child, I know you're not a child, you're a grown-ass adult from the sound of it, you're 27, you know, but like in your mom's eyes, you're a child. And that is a common theme here that I hear about a lot from callers, like dealing with parents, seeing them as inferior or unrespectable. You know, we kind of reach a peak with our mental, you know, this isn't news, what I'm reporting here. This is just like common sense. Like we reach a peak mental state in life, and it's certainly much closer to where you are in life. I'm not claiming that you're there, but like if you're 27 and you have parents, you've got to be, it seems like you must be closer to that peak mental physical condition than your parents are. And this is a difficult time for a lot of people, working through that relational dynamic of like the parent acknowledging that they are the old generation. I'm struggling admittedly to find the right words here to get through this thought, but the parents of the older generation. And sometimes, like, yeah, there's wisdom that comes along with age. And there is also, you know, to put it bluntly, when you reach a certain age, a lot of people become senile and they need the help of their children to make it. This is the Ninja Turtles meme that's so popular with like the Ninja Turtles and like, I'm not good at references, but like, what's the rat's name? The rat from Ninja Turtles, the like boss man.
Yeah,
I can't remember.
I know what you're talking about though.
Yeah, the meme where he's guiding the turtles and then the turtles are guiding him. Like this is a difficult exchange for people to go through, and it kind of feels like you're in this early stages of this where like Splinter, thank you chat. The chat is telling me the rat's name is Splinter. Thank you chat. Master Splinter. Yeah, Splinter. So like it kind of reminds me of where you are a little bit. Like your parents are learning to, it's at least at the crux of it where your parents are like learning to respect you as an adult, and they might not agree with everything you have to say, but you're going to stand up for the things that are important to you, and they're going to have to learn to deal with that. And I wonder what kind of conversation is possible, what kind of peaceful conversation is possible. You know, what kind of grace can you extend your parents, understanding that you can't teach an old dog new tricks, understanding that they're probably not going to agree with you. So with that being said, what kind of conversation do you think is possible? What is the best case scenario here? It doesn't seem to be that it's going to be they're going to agree with you politically or agree that they shouldn't have committed voter fraud. So what is the net positive here? I don't know what it is. I'm just asking you, and that's something you'll have to decide. But what is the net positive that comes out of this for you and your family? Do you have an idea of what that is that you could share with us? If you don't, it's okay, but I'm curious. I don't know.
I suppose that, I mean, I maybe I'm being too optimistic, but I think it's a decent possibility that my mom, like, like comes to her senses and admits that what she did was wrong, and doesn't harbor, I think, much like anger towards me for reporting it. I think it's always, maybe it's way too unrealistic to say zero anger, but maybe not be, get back to the point of a normal friendship relationship where we can talk with each other and care for each other. Even though she might be disappointed and disagree with my decision to report her. And I mean, I'm hoping she doesn't get in legal trouble, but it's a possibility at this point. But I guess it'll really depend on like what ends up happening with the legal side. But that could have a lot of far-reaching implications for my mom and her career and whatnot, you know. So it could end up being a really big deal, which I'm worried about. But
right.
But yeah, maybe I just needs to be over many conversations, not just one conversation.
Yeah, it's probably going to be many conversations.
Yeah.
I would also say, I don't know if you need to hear this, but I would say, I'm just thinking of what it is that I'm hearing, and I would say in response, humility is strength. In other words, you might feel every impulse to go into that conversation with your mom guns blazing, saying, you did X, Y, Z. I can't believe, like you wanted such and such and you did it illegally, and like, give her all the reasons, read her the riot act. But that's not really what strength is. And you mentioned the conversation you mentioned the little story I told earlier about getting into an argument about corn. And the point is the same, that like there's a point in conversation, like people want a confident conversationalist. People don't want to talk to someone who's not confident. People want to talk to competent people. If they're not talking to a confident person, they don't want to hear what you have to say. This is the reason people listen to podcasts hosted by experts, to people that, to politicians in the first place. This is the reason we elect presidents, for crying out loud. We want to we want to hear the thoughts of competent people. But it's a slippery slope when you get into debate, and debate is important because it's the value of what we have in the free world. It's what our justice system is built upon. It's what votes are built upon. And yet debate is so tricky because to have a good debate, you have to be willing to acknowledge that you don't have the full picture. And so humility is strength. To come back to that thought, humility is the strength. In other words, like I would ask, is it possible you could find yourself in that conversation with your mom and without reading her the riot act of all the things she did wrong and all the reasons it was unjust, simply explain to her why you did what you did with all the love in your heart.
Yeah.
Something like that.
I think that's what I'm gonna have to do. I can just see like I imagine she's bewildered and might feel like how can you love me if you did this to me,
Yeah. That's what you'll be walking into. Again, that's why your humility would be strength. You know, she'll be coming into that with a bunch of whys. That's WHY apostrophe S, not WISE, to be clear. She'll be coming into it with a bunch of questions like why, and something I learned from reading a book on negotiation written by Chris Voss, one of my favorite books ever. Never Split the Difference, Negotiating as If Your Life Depends on It. One of the best books ever written, in my opinion. I mentioned it. Let me put it in the chat. Great book on any subject. This is just a great book for conversation in general. The book, so Chris Voss was a hostage negotiator for the FBI. He was number one in the FBI. They sent him on all the most difficult missions internationally, and he successfully. He's responsible for the lives of I don't know how many people because he was the best. They sent him on all the most difficult hostage negotiations, and he wrote a book on negotiating. And it might seem like a rabbit trail I'm going on, but he opens the book by saying that every conversation in life is a negotiation, whether you're talking to a boss or your kid about what time they have to go to bed, or a spouse about where you're going to go to dinner. Every conversation in life, if you're having a conversation, it's a negotiation. That's the opening. It's not a spoiler, but it's the introduction to this book I'm putting in the chat for you. I'm not telling you to read this, but it's an amazing book. It's in the chat for you. But he talks about why I'm harping on this is he talks about the power of why. And I just said your mom's going to go into this conversation with a lot of whys, and why is an accusatory word. Why implies that there is fault somewhere. Why demands explanation. Why, that's it. It implies fault and demands explanation. And you might get something from this book by reading it that might help you in these conversations, in maintaining your relationship with your family while also disagreeing with them, because it seems clear that you're probably not going to bridge the gap of logic here, or politics, or what have you. But it seems really important. It seems like it's really important to you that you maintain the relationship, even though you don't agree with them on everything. And one of the things that comes out of this book that I'm maybe using too many words, but I'm trying to be clear that this, Chris Voss talks about the power of why, and why is so bad. Why is bad. You never want to ask why. You can probably expect your mom will have 100 whys for you, but you might get something out of the conversation by avoiding going back to her with another dozen whys, and instead approaching it from the perspective of what is it that caused XYZ. In other words, Chris Voss claims in this book that I just referenced, why equals what is it that caused blank. So if you say what is it that is causing or caused, you're not saying, give me an explanation for why you did this. You're saying what is it that caused this, and you're taking the personal implication out of it. And it's I've used this. It's powerful. I believe he's right about this. And the guy is it's hard to argue with him because he's like a hostage negotiator and was the best in the world. And this book is highly recommend anybody read this book for any reason. It's amazing. You will learn so much. It's incredible. Deanna Krebs is with me. Represent Deanna Krebs in the chat. That is. But the point is you might get. I'm spending too much time on this, but my point was you're gonna. I'm sensing you're gonna come into this conversation with your mom, or these probably several conversations, answering to a lot of whys, and you might be prepared for that, and you might be so prepared for it that you respond with, what is it that caused blank? And you might get some really vulnerable answers if you frame it that way.
Okay. Keep that in mind.
Anyways, that's a favorite book of mine. Sorry if I spent too much time talking about it, but I believe that's powerful stuff right there. What is it that caused is better than why.
So say that, like, for example, I'd say, like, what caused me to do this, to report the crime was this. Isn't that the same thing as, isn't that the same thing as answering her why, though? Like, if she said, why did you do this? You know?
Yeah. Just to be clear, I'm not saying that you answer with a what is it. I'm saying that when you have you will undoubtedly have questions for your mom too. Like she's gonna come at you with all these why, like why did you report me? Why why don't you agree with me politically? And I'm just suggesting that maybe when it's time for you to ask questions, don't respond with more whys. I'm not saying you answer from a different perspective. I'm saying that when it's your turn to ask a question, maybe consider the power of depersonalizing it instead of saying, why did you commit voter fraud? Say, what is it that compelled you to vote this way? Or something like that.
Yeah. Or commit a crime. I'm not really concerned about how she votes,
right.
More so the crime being committed, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
You might have to read the book to fully unpack. I can't attempt to. That's why there's a book. The book is amazing, but like the power of avoiding using why is so important. Like when you're speaking, when it's you should expect people to ask you why and not be thrown off kilter. That's what the book says. And then when it's your turn to ask a question, try to avoid saying why, because it puts your counterpart, the person you're negotiating with, it puts your counterpart on defense. Like, oh, why? They're asking why. Now I've got to give a reason for why I did something. Instead, reframing it as a what is it that caused XYZ, you're depersonalizing it, and you're giving the person space to answer freely, however they choose to. And this is Chris Voss's work. Again, I'm not an expert, but like this, in my experience too, like I've tried this for several years and it works. Like what it does is it gets you a more honest answer when people don't feel put on the spot. It's crazy. Like I've seen lawyers and judges in court break this rule, and I'm like, have you not read Chris Voss's book? Like you'd get way better answers out of the person you're interrogating if you just avoided saying why. Just say, what is it? Just say, what is it? That's the point.
I might start trying that out. It's cool.
Yeah. What is it? In other words, it's not them. There must be something that caused them, whether it was maybe it was a bad conviction. Maybe it was a fear. Maybe it was, it could be any number of things. But like when you take their reputation out of it by avoiding the word why, like why makes them feel like they're personally responsible. What is it? Asks what it is.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chris Voss, the man, the myth, the legend.
That's cool. I might check that out.
Anyway, I hope we didn't spend too much time there talking about one of my favorite books, but it felt relevant. I hope that was useful to you. I'm really sorry to hear about this, but your head must be spinning. Like that's a lot to process. It's a lot to process. Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm doing all right. I'm trying to stay optimistic, but I feel like there's a wide range of possibilities. Like it could end up that my mom doesn't really get in trouble and then just things go back to normal maybe in a couple months, or really this could ruin my relationship with my sister and my mom and maybe other family members for decades to come. I really don't know. I guess I don't perceive that happening, but I guess that's like worst case scenario if she gets in trouble and then she harbors anger for a long time. But
right. So we spent a lot of time talking about several facets of this, and I haven't asked what would make this a good call. Is there something we could talk about particularly that would make this a good call? Or I don't know what it is you need or what it is you're processing, but I'm happy to just give you a space here to think out loud in the chat, and I can try to be a sounding board.
Yeah.
What would make this a good call?
I suppose just any advice about what I should do next, or how I should treat this. I mean, like I've even thought about like I would normally get my parents or my sister food because I get like food credit through some of my services, and I just like continue that like as if everything is normal. But then does it seem like it's a bribe if I do that? You know, do I try to reach out to them soon, or do I wait a week? You know, do I explain myself, or do I just ignore them? You know, I guess ignoring isn't really on the table. I think I've made up my mind that I should try to talk with them and tell them that I still love them and that it wasn't personal. But
that's beautiful.
Asking if there's anything else that I should try to emphasize besides that.
Right. Ray Mag, one of our mods, says to you, "It's not your fault if the relationship is ruined because you reported a crime. All you can do is be persistent from a place of love towards your mother. But at this point, it would be up to your mom." I think that's pretty true. I think that's pretty accurate. Like in some ways, you're kind of waiting to see how your mom responds to this. In some ways, you've already kind of made the first move, and you're waiting to see how she responds. I think it's beautiful that you want her to know that it wasn't personal and that you love her. My sense says that will probably come out in time, no matter how much time that takes. And none of us know the situation better than you do, but it sounds like it's probably your mom's turn to respond here. If you reported her and she's kind of still coming to terms with that, it might be her turn to respond.
Yeah.
But you would know better than anybody. If you know, it's kind of like saying, you know, when's the right time for a first kiss on a date? Like at the end of the date, in the middle of the date, like there are like nobody knows except the person right there and then, the two people right there and then. Like nobody can tell those people when the right time is. It's just like whenever it happens.
Yeah, that's true. That makes sense.
So we're wishing you the best. I hope any of this was valuable for you to think out loud and get thoughts. Yeah. None of us are experts, but Deanna Krebs, another one of our mods, says to you, "Writing a letter always helps me process it best and stay succinct." And I think that's a great thing worth mentioning here. And sometimes I would say writing a letter that you never send, just writing a letter just to write it, just to like vomit your thoughts on paper or on your phone that you never send the person, just for yourself, just so you have it, like, this is what I'm feeling, this is what I think. And then sometimes that letter that you vomit out to yourself ends up becoming some type of communication that's valuable between you and the other person. Not that you ever send it. I think there's something very valuable to say about writing something just for you that's something you would send them, but you never will. And then when the difficult conversation comes, you've got those thoughts in your head because you already let them out. And then you can be better prepared for what's coming. So a great thought from Deanna. Thank you for that, Deanna. And again, just want to say, like, you can call again anytime. We're hoping for a good update. It sucks what you're going through. That nobody wants to report their parent. That sucks. I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate the encouragement and tips. I'll be sure to go through the chat and look through it, and appreciate what you're doing here. And hope there's some more great conversations after me.
Thank you for calling. Call again anytime. We're hoping for a good update.
One very random note. Dominion just updated the Steam game a couple hours ago, believe it or not. So you should.
Oh.
It'd be great if you can make another Dominion stream. I agree with that.
Another Dominion stream. Hey, I'm glad there are some Dominion fans in here. I don't think I've played since that stream. Yeah. That's how dedicated I am. But I do love that game. Okay. They're overdue for an update. That's good to hear.
Yeah, it's like a graphical update, and I play it sometimes. So.
Okay, cool. Well, my friend, wishing you the best. Hoping for a good update. Call again anytime. Your call will be noteworthy. I'm pretty sure we're all gonna remember this call because you're talking about some very unique and also very relatable stuff all at once, and that's not a small order. So we're wishing you the best. Good luck to you. Call again anytime.
Thanks, Julian. Appreciate it. Bye.
Thank you. Good night. Chat, we are going to wind down the stream here. It's 5 till top of the hour. We got the 2 calls tonight. 2 very, I would say, very relatable calls. And this is the highlight of my week. Each time I do this, I actually really regret that I'm only doing it once a week now, but time is of the essence. There's so much happening, and I really do not like... I would much rather do this once a week for 2 hours reliably than do it twice a week and then run the risk of having to do it for like half of the time that was allotted. Like, in other words, I was doing like a lot of 1-hour streams. That's not really what I don't think that's valuable. I think it's good that people have actually one day a week that they know they can call in here for a 2-hour window. And I think that's the most valuable version of this that is possible right now. Maybe we'll open it up again to more time in the future, but for right now, I think it's what's best for the project. So thank you guys all for being here. A huge thank you to our mods. Thank you to Deanna Krebs, Ray Mag. I believe I saw Easy Cheesy earlier. Yeah, Easy Cheesy's here. And King's Pawn was here earlier at least. Haven't seen King's Pawn's name in the chat. You guys are awesome. Our mods are incredible. And they do so much here. So a lot of this would be impossible without the mods. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you, chat, for all of your thoughts. To the callers, none of this would be possible without you either. This is a community effort. So thank you guys all for being here with me. And we will be back here next Tuesday and at 10 p.m. Eastern. That's the time we do this. Thank you so much. Have a great week. Good night, everybody.